So Norwich City's unbeaten EFL Championship record since August is over. They've lost here 2-1 at home to Derby. I'm just going to make a first point. On Tuesday night at Arsenal, I could see why both decisions were given in Arsenal's favour, even though they were probably wrong. And I'm fairly objective about those ones. The decision in the first half here today not towards a penalty, I'm not really going to get into red cards or the tackling from behind stuff, but for not giving a penalty for Carson hauling Josh with two arms to recover a situation is a serious joke of a decision, and regardless of people going on about how, well, he got the ball because he hauled him back. It's not even a debate as far as I'm concerned. And let's be clear, with the game goalless at that point, it had a massive bearing on what happened thereafter, especially given Derby scored a very good goal on the counter just before half time. The kind of thing that happens when you know it's not going to be your day, just like Nelson Oliveira lasting 10 minutes and then going off with what looked like a calf injury. That is of course really bad news, given Norwich have got the Wolves. I was going to call them the leaders. Wolves, they're not the leaders anymore. In fact, they lost this afternoon at QPR. But Wolves, a very good side down here at Carrow Road on Tuesday night, just in 4 days' time. So, yeah, clearly a lot of things didn't go Norwich's way. Not all about that entirely, certainly from that point on, because Norwich lost a lot of composure. They got level back in the game, which I wasn't really expecting given the way things were going, and they really had to dig in given all the effort they'd put in the last week or so. So we knew it was going to be like that, and it was really a question of Norwich taking from this game whatever they could. And when they got level, and having spoken to Tim Closer, he kind of admitted it himself, was him, he said, sending the signal that, well, we can go and win this and get another one, let's race back to the centre circle. The right message to send out, given Norwich probably would have taken a draw given how things were coming and playing out here. It's probably quite hard of Tim to say that about himself, but likewise, chasing the game, they looked a bit of a mess at the back, and ultimately those spaces are what led to Derby's eventual winner as Sam Winnall scored, made by Bradley Johnson. Angus was a little bit unfortunate with the parry, and it was all a little bit unfortunate really, and quite poor and disciplined defending. And there was a bit of that in Norwich's general play. I mean, they were making so many poor mistakes as the game wore on. You have to put that down to the effort and the load, and there's not really been a lot of squad rotation, whereas there has been the opportunity at times. Maybe Daniel Farke hasn't quite done enough of that and kind of paid the price for that today. Players like Tom Tribal, clearly leggy, making the kind of mistakes we've not really seen him make in recent weeks. And it was just a big shame, because I think you wanted them to be rewarded for that bravery on Tuesday night and rewarded for the effort they put in, and likewise today rewarded for really getting stuck in. And ultimately you would like to think that they would have been rewarded by the referee getting one huge decision right. And I wouldn't even say it was a 50-50. It was genuinely a decision he had to make. And him sitting there telling Josh Murphy that Scott Carson got the ball was completely to lose the point. Anyway, I'm talking about the penalty again, because ultimately there were issues across Norwich's game as well. But it's difficult, because the game coming up on Tuesday is a really tough one against a side that will now be looking for a response, and it doesn't make life any easier for Norwich. And their home form is an issue. I think we're seeing they look too predictable at home. They're not getting enough bodies in the box. Marco Stiepermann came close with a couple of efforts today and was probably their best attacking outlet, but that was good of him to get forward and get in those positions to score. But Norwich need many more runners going beyond Cameron Jerome and getting themselves into the box, and just being a little less predictable, because at the moment they're getting to the edge of the area, they're playing it around, and then someone's having a shot, and just the degree of difficulty that Norwich are asking themselves in terms of scoring a goal, it's asking too much of them really. So there are things to work on at home, given the contrast with the away form, of course, and it puts pressure on the away form, most definitely. Derby were alright. I mean, for a side, I looked at it and thought, well, for a side that had all week to prepare and should have been fresher, they were pretty awful in the first half. But ultimately they probably were waiting for Norwich to not take their chances, and then managed to take their one when it came along, which they did, and it was a great goal by David Nugent. But that probably says as much about the predictability that Norwich City had in their game. Likewise, of course, a game plan plan looks perfect when it comes off like this, but sometimes it doesn't necessarily come off by design. This was always a bit of an issue for Norwich today, and ultimately that's how it proved. We'll see what they get on Tuesday. As I said, it's a tough old game against Wolves. John Reddy and Ryan Bennett coming back. One of those I think will be playing, so we'll see how it all goes then. But yeah, at least Norwich are getting plenty of ammunition for their siege mentality at the moment. And Tim Closer was talking about his boat again, so I think the boat is under fire. Let's hope it somehow manages to stay afloat come Tuesday night, because it's going to come under a bit more of a bombardment again there too.